My friends, the time has come. I'm putting the link in the chat. Should be there. I will see you in 5 minutes. We're going to be going through 2 Samuel, it's chapter 16. Hopefully you'll come and join me, okay? I'll see you in 5 minutes. Hello, everyone.
Oh, good morning.
Great to see Yoav. I'm so sad that as we're getting ready and that music's playing, that no one can see you clapping and bobbing along. He is a second away from dancing. Like he's about to bring instruments into it. Next time, there's going to be a full drum kit. I'm sure of it. Good to see everyone. Sandy, we haven't seen you in quite a while, I feel. So great to have you out again.
Yeah, and you won't see me next week again either because I'm scheduled to work on Thursday, but the week after I should be around.
Awesome. This is a good group of people. We got Matt again out in Seattle making his balloon animals and creatures. Oh, I think I stole for half a second. Good to see you, Matt.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a good time. Good season. I got chosen to be a director for next year's plays. That has happened in the past week, past little bit. So I'm very excited about that. It's going to require a bunch of effort. It's going to be a Shakespeare play, 12th night. So, I mean, maybe I can convince a couple of you guys to learn that play and we could talk about it sometime. It'll be fun. Cassandra's usually down for just about anything. So, what else? Yeah. It's a good group of people today. Very, very excited. We have everyone from the bustling metropolis of, Sandy, you're Fergus, Ontario? We have like 10% of Fergus here today on the channel. That's what that means. Then Tel Aviv to California. I think we're doing pretty good for covering the globe right now. Does anyone have any announcements? Perhaps a short presentation they'd like to do at the start of today's conversation? No? Okay. Let's bring up the text then. Add to stage. Okay. Then we're going to get into it. Okay, let's get into the text. Dawn, good morning. Yoav, good evening. Cassandra, would you be so good as to give us a read?
When David had passed a little beyond the summit, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of donkeys saddled, bearing 200 loaves of bread, 100 bunches of raisins, 100 of summer fruits, and a skin of wine. And the king said to Ziba, "Why have you brought these?" Ziba answered, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for those who faint in the wilderness to drink." And the king said, "And where is your master's son?" Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he remains in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Israel will give me back the kingdom of my father.'" Then the king said to Ziba,
let's pause 1 second there. So as he's going, do you guys remember who Mephibosheth is? I know Yoav does. Or Sandy, do you remember? Sandy, I see you nodding along. Do you remember who Mephibosheth is?
Well, I could be wrong, but isn't Mephibosheth he's the young boy that was sort of the nursemaid ran with him when he's from Saul's lineage. Grandson, I think.
That's right. And he famously, if you just look it up, here he is walking on crutches. That's where a lot of the images are going to take because he's something happened and his feet aren't working. Why is Dawn calling us a liar? I don't know what that's really. I don't know when she typed that.
Ziba the liar.
Oh, son of Jonathan. Yeah, no, it's because he's kind of in charge of. So it's like the person you're in charge of. So I think son is used representatively, not literally, in my opinion. But yeah, Sandy, you're right. Lineage of Saul, son of Jonathan, who has some sort of is some version of a cripple. Are you still allowed to say cripple? Can I say that? Like, okay. Body doesn't work and legs don't work. And David took care of him. right? Didn't need to, says, I need to find someone to take care of. And now this guy is reciprocating, right? So it's kind of the good that he did coming back for him. He brings him all these donkeys. And Cassandra, what is the significance of the guy bringing donkeys? Or this is just a guess of mine, but the significance of this descendant of Saul bringing donkeys.
I mean, I don't know what you mean. Well, wait, no, his son was on a mule, I think it said. Or was it donkey?
I don't know if there's any significance in this, but when Saul is made king, he's searching for the
donkey,
the donkeys, and now the descendant is bringing him all this stuff, and he's bringing them with a herd of donkeys.
And then I don't know if it's my translation, but it said Absalom, I think, was on a mule, but I don't know if that could also be a donkey or if it was specifically a mule.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Because I mean, maybe this is going too far into the text, but a donkey is a much more stubborn animal. We talked about this. Like a horse became the thing that you would ride into battle with because you can control their spirit a lot better. Whereas a donkey, they have too much of a mind of their own.
Yeah, as far as I remember, the sons of the king always rode on mules. Earlier in the story and later in the story.
Okay. Yeah, because donkeys have the advantage of being able to carry more. That's right, I believe.
I don't think it's the same animal. It's several thousands of evolution and genetical engineering.
So isn't mule like mule a crossbreed between donkey and horse?
Yeah, mule is a donkey and a horse together.
Yes, but the donkey is not the same donkey and the horse is not the same horse.
That's right, yeah.
So much breeding have gone since then that but generally speaking, yes, a mule is the crossbreed.
Yeah. I'm sure people have seen before. You guys have seen the image of what a banana looked like before agriculture? Just share that because that to me is a great illustration of exactly what Yoav is saying. This is what a banana is like. It's like the size of your thumb and has giant seeds in it. All of these are seeds.
I know that as late as 400 BC, there was still wild donkeys in the Syrian desert. So this is why the donkey is the smartest animal, because it's closest to the wild.
Mm-hmm. Shalom to Chezi. Got RJ out. We got Yon God making a good ass joke. Sandy, would you, well, unless anyone else has anything further to say. Okay, let's go deeper in then. Sandy, would you read for us?
Okay, where did we end? Where's your master's son? Did we end at 3?
You can read 3 again.
Okay. And the king said, "Where is your master's son?" Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he remains in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Israel will give me back the kingdom of my father.'" Then the king said to Ziba, "Behold, all that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours." And Ziba said, "I pay homage. Let me ever find favor in your sight, my lord the king."
Okay, this seems bad. Like I have to break it down a little bit more because what is this sentiment? Is he claiming that Mephibosheth is going to be made king? Like, am I just not under? This is a section of the text where there's a couple of bits that are a little bit confusing to me.
Now, what I understand, especially from the translation, is that Mephibosheth saw that this was his opportunity. Of course, he's the legal heir, to the kingdom. So if David is leaving Jerusalem, then he goes to Jerusalem and just expects everybody to crown him king.
Yeah. Dawn is saying another bad decision by David. I find him annoying sometimes, honestly. Thank you for your
Sorry,
honesty, Dawn.
what is the bad decision? I didn't catch the bad decision.
Might be just the I'm not sure which decision she's making either.
Maybe to believe Ziba?
Yeah.
The moment of decision comes later when he reunites with Mephibosheth, and you have like these two competing stories.
Yeah.
And at that, when we get to that point of the story, I think David kind of just gives up. Like it's sort of this indication that like he's not everything that his son Solomon, the eighth one's able to divide the truth from two competing parties. Sort of like a gap in David's skill sets, or a lack of his willingness to sort it out.
Sorry,
that's really good.
I'm losing the thread. What are the contradicting stories that David is facing?
It's not now, but when Mephibosheth reunites with David after he's back on the throne, and he's like, no, like he says Ziba's a liar. And I think David ends up just splitting the difference, be like, you get half, he gets half.
Okay. So that will be later. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, like looking at this, like if this is like truly what Mephibosheth said, like he's unbelievably dumb, and like his political instincts are insanely naive.
Now there's another element to this, which is fascinating too, which is that this guy, Mephibosheth, someone is going to appear and say, the kingdom of Saul did this horrible thing to us, and we demand justice. And Mephibosheth is going to get killed for something that the house of Saul did. So David has kind of promised to take care of this guy, but his ending is tragic. He kind of gets swallowed up in the stuff that took place in 1 Samuel. Like people are going to, we're so many years past that, but there's going to be some people who come forward and say, no, Saul owes us and we demand it of his kids.
Does he end up on the spike? Does Mephibosheth end up on the spikes at the end? I thought that was sort of a story out of the sequence.
We will get there, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be, not today, but he will be he'll be executed. Like it's pretty brutal.
I was gonna say, like, I kind of feel like Mephibosheth's roll no story is like David's one shining gives David, like, see, I told the truth to Jonathan when I said I'd spare his house. He has a descendant.
Yeah.
I still don't see any bad decision from David. He's not in a position to conduct a thorough investigation, and everything is reversible. I mean, Ziba was first a free man, or was his own man, and then Ziba was assigned to Mephibosheth by David, and now he's reversing it. He said to Ziba, "You're again your own free man." Can be reversed again. Mm-hmm. He's just acting on what he knows at the moment, because it's a reversible decision. Why not make it?
Yeah, no, he's acting on the information as available. But one of the things that Solomon is able to do is act in a way that causes the truth to emerge from the parties' interactions. That's like a deeper skill set Solomon has that David doesn't.
Okay, it's saying, I have to check this. I think that it's implied that he's going to be put to death, but I'm gonna have to look into it, because this is a section where I get a little bit confused.
Yeah, I can say for when we get there. That's fine. Got a lot of, I know, like the conclusion of the book kind of puzzles you as far as what it's functionally doing. So we're not there. We're here.
For sure.
Again, I mean, we will coming to the same. Whenever David is, except for the original scene with Bathsheba, whenever David is making a bad decision, it's always in the context of the social situation in which he finds himself. Like when he was going to kill Naval.
Yeah.
Because he has people with him, and the loyalty of the people with him is not certain at that particular moment. He has to show decisiveness and he has to show strength. And the very fact that he's assigning wealth to this man or to another is signaling, well, I'm still in charge. I'm still deciding things. It's appearing to be the king that is the important thing to do at the moment. Making exactly the right decision can be fixed later.
Yeah. Okay, so it's in chapter 21, so we will be getting there relatively soon. But it seems like he does I'm a little bit confused as to what happens to him in the end, because it looks like you could possibly read it that he is spared again. But this chapter that we're in today is very interesting because we're just going to be hitting over and over again the descendants of Saul. Because this section, David is again the king on the run. He's again the king who isn't in power, who's in the wilderness. And so we get reiterations of the Saul storyline happening again. So let's keep going. Don really likes your points, Yoav. So extra.
He's not in Exodus, he's in exile.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great way of thinking about it. Both in exile and in Exodus, you end up in slavery. But one of those, it's definitely your fault. One's the brokenness of the
first
world.
time around, he had like the priestly influence with him, and this time around, he doesn't.
Yeah, he sent the priest back. That happened in the chapter before. Yeah, it's good stuff. Sandy, you have been far too quiet, so I'm getting you to read again.
When King David came to Bahurim, there came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. And as he came, he cursed continually. And he threw stones at David, and at all the servants of King David. And all the people and all the mighty men were at his right hand and on his left. And Shimei said as he cursed, get out, you man of blood, you worthless man. The Lord has avenged on you all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has given the kingdom into the hand of your son Absalom. See, your evil is on you, for you are a man of blood.
Okay, pause there. This is, hot takes. This is such an interesting part of it, because the expression man of blood is stated as to why David won't build the temple, because he's a man of blood. Good afternoon, Yosef.
It's true, but not in this book. That's in the Chronicles.
Yes, which is also super interesting. So this title, so this guy says, get out, you man of blood, you worthless man. Hashem has avenged on you all the blood of the house of Saul. This is someone from the family of Saul. He's saying that what's happening is because what he did to Saul. This is so fascinating to me, because David is under God's judgment right now. That is why he's on the run, but not for the reason this guy is condemning him. It is a punishment from God, but not for the reason this guy is saying. And even the sentiment that he's a man of blood, which is why he's being punished, but it has nothing to do with Saul. Do you get what I mean? Like,
I'm not sure that's 100% true. That this guy could be sort of like revealing more of the Lasan, especially if David made the big point of not touching the house of Saul, and a lot of the house of Saul gets touched in the civil war.
mm-hmm.
I don't know, just leave it out. Not saying I believe that, but I don't fully agree that this is a false statement.
That's really good, Matt, because of what's just about to happen. Because David actually bears this on the chin and says, I don't know, he might be right. Kind of. Well, depending on how you interpret it. Yoav, would you like to tell us? Would you like to agree with Yanni?
What Shimei doesn't know is that all the bloodletting was the initiative of Yoav, not of David. There was some bloodletting, but it's all Yoav's fault.
Yeah.
And Shimei doesn't know that. This is why he is relating everything to David. And David is, if David will kill now Shimei, then he's proving Shimei's point.
Yeah.
So this is why he cannot kill Shimei at the moment.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah,
But also,
especially
Joab acts as an agent of the king and is not reprimanded by the king.
yeah. David wants to make peace with Abner, wants to bring him in, and Yoav just kills him in a situation, not even in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also interesting because Yoav is the son of Zeruiah, and a son of Zeruiah is just about to speak. Cassandra or Sandy, do you have anything else you would like to throw on? No. Okay. Cassandra, would you read for us now?
Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over and take off his head." But the king said, What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? If he is cursing because the Lord has said to him, Curse David, who then shall say, Why have you done so? And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, Behold, my own son seeks my life. How much more now may this Benjamite? Leave him alone and let him curse, for the Lord has told him to. It may be that the Lord will look on the wrong done to me, and that the Lord will repay me with good for his cursing today. So David and his men went on the road, while Shimei went along on the hillside opposite him, and cursed as he went, and threw stones at him and flung dust.
This is strong. This is very strong, the image of it.
Okay, David is answering the right answer to Shimei. He doesn't say that Abishai was behaving wrongly. He says it's the sons of Tzuriah that I had enough of. And he's hinting into the fact that it all comes from the sons of Tzuriah and not his, but he's not saying so. He just, whoever knows the story will understand.
Yeah. Well, it also interesting, he doesn't say, what do I to do with you, you son of Zeruiah? He says sons, which includes Yoav, who's the one who did the wicked thing. So So
he's giving its answer without giving the answer.
Yeah. Don, there are worse things to throw.
Yeah. It made me think a little, because Abishai did this before. When they went into Saul's camp, he was also like ready to kill him.
With the dead dog language too. This is his favorite insult. He likes to call people a dead dog or a dog's head.
Yeah, he's very ready to fight. And just for like this moment here, it just made me think a little bit about like when Peter cuts off the ear of the guard.
Yeah.
When they come to arrest you, like he's very ready to defend and to fight.
Yeah. This level, okay, Yanni is saying something that I'm thinking is very interesting. The idea that I don't think David has wants at this point in his life. David's life is basically on autopilot at this point. There's an interesting idea as to, we were talking for the past 2 weeks that Absalom knows he's going to become king at some point, just not now, right? And there's like a judgment placed on Absalom because he's acting too quickly. Like there's an impatience, and David bears this curse because it's like that old expression, like wait and see. Like we're gonna the bit with the radish farmer who breaks his leg training the horses. You know, the good news, bad news. We'll see that story if you guys know it from is it Taoism? Okay, Yoav's nodding. He knows the story. So it's like David has done enough things. You don't know in the story how the story is going to end. You're in it. You're in the present. He's not going to know until time goes on as to whether or not this guy is fully right, which is why I was saying what Matt was saying was true, is because David is trying to figure that out. Is this part of why he's cursed? Is he bearing a curse? What is going on? Anyone have anything else they want to add? Okay. Sandy, would you continue reading at End the King?
And the king and all the people who were with him arrived weary at the Jordan, and there he refreshed himself. Now Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. When Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" And Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?" And Hushai said to Absalom, "No, for whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel have chosen, his I will be, and with him I will remain." And again, whom should I serve? Should it not be his son, as I have served your father? So I will serve you.
This business, guys. Do you trust this guy? What do you think?
No.
Sandy is immediately on the no side. These are the bits of political intrigue. Who are we under now? Oh, I promise I'll be as loyal to you as I was to your father before you. Okay. Any other thoughts in that little bit? Okay, Cassandra, continue. Finish us off.
Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give your counsel. What shall we do?" Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Go into your father's concubines, whom he has left to keep house, and all Israel will hear that you have made yourself a stench to your father, and the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened." So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. Now in those days the counsel that Ahithophel gave was as if one consulted the word of God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel esteemed, both by David and by Absalom.
Okay. This is so. The idea that he actually pitches a tent on the roof, like it's a public showcase. This is so awkward. Like, you know what's happening there. It's making a public spectacle of the fact that he's having sex with the concubines, and they pitch the tent of Absalom on the roof. Why is it on the roof?
Yeah.
Cassandra, do you have a guess as to why it's on the roof?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not a very deep it's a very obvious reference.
Yeah. That's where David was when he saw Bathsheba bathing. So and God says, or I can't remember if it's God or Nathan. It's God through the prophet Nathan says, you did this privately. We're going to do it publicly. So the thing that David did privately, the sin that begins on the roof, is now the judgment for him has come back to him on the roof.
Right.
Okay, that proves my point from when we were talking about Bathsheba. I told you that when David was on his roof, everybody could see he was there. That proves it.
Mhm.
So it's not that he was sort of sneak peeping at a girl washing on the roof, because she could see him, everybody could see him, everybody could see the man that were with him.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And the
Let
other
me go
connect,
back to my explanation of what happened there.
yeah, that it wasn't as, yeah, that's interesting. Maximize visibility. Absolutely, Don. But remember this other element. We know from other sections of scripture that Ahithophel, the person giving him the counsel, is the grandfather of Bathsheba. Bathsheba. I'm gonna blend the Hebrew and the English until no one knows who the heck I'm talking about. But Bathsheba, it's her grandfather who's bringing this back on his head.
Right. Okay, so why does he do that? Like, is he upset about this, or is this just a reference to where it all went wrong for David? Like, what is he doing? What is he accomplishing by this?
Yeah, I keep on making mention of this, and it's the only situation where I use the term fecundity. Kings exhibited that they had a right to rule through fecundity, through their ability to have sex and have heirs. That was very, very common. And it gave a legitimacy because it put you in the family of whoever the king was before, right? So the most famous way is like just you marry the princess. That's one of the reasons, that's one of the ways you become king, right? Is you get into the family, which David had a link in through Michelle, if we remember that story. And one of the ways that you would fully steal the kingdom from someone is by sleeping with their women and publicly defacing them. So there's multiple stories where it's not merely that they're killed, they'll have their nose cut off or their eyes gouged out or their thumbs cut off or something like this. This makes like a public display of them. Now, I might be completely wrong, and if I am, oh, hi, Yosef. Yeah, so I would say that that's part of why he is sleeping with the concubines. It's to say he's fully in power, fully over the house, and that these people who used to be David's are now Absalom's. In the same way, if you remember in the Bathsheba story, it says all of Saul's wives were given to David. It's again like this handing over of the former kingdom.
I might add that there's something a little also here that like why does there's a question of like why is this necessary, in the sense of like it seems like people are supporting Absalom, David's on the run. Like why does he need to do another step, and especially like this drastic step? And it might have to do with that ambiguity you just had earlier with Hushai, which is, it's clear that people's loyalties are shifting. Actually, in this whole chapter, right? People's loyalties are clearly shifting right now. And this sort of step is a irreversible one, right? Like there's no more possibility of shifts. Like once this happens, there's no taking this back. In a way that everything else could be undone up to this point so far. I would say there's a lot of other really interesting stuff going on here. So there's parallels here. I'd say there's an anti-parallel here with this taking up the tent and setting it up before the eyes of Israel. That's language from the end of Exodus when Moses takes the tent of meeting out of the encampment because God no longer is dwelling within them, right? It's using that same language.
Wouldn't that also be the language of David setting up the tent for the ark on the roof?
It's not used there,
Okay.
it's not used there, interestingly. But this seems to be like a contrastive to that. Like
Yeah.
it is before the eyes of Israel, but like in some way, it is also kind of acknowledging an authority or a new authority, but it's kind of like with the moral affect being flipped. The other thing that's happening here that it seems to be using language from is when remember when Amnon was debating like what to do about his sister or half sister, whatever the relationship is, complicated relationship to Tamar, right? Yonadav gives him advice, and it's this same kind of language. Let me give you some advice. So there seems to be a parallel because this chapter, one of the questions is, how does this link to David's sin? And the end of the chapter is much clearer. Beginning of the chapter, it's not so clear how it links to his sin, but the end of the chapter, obviously, with the setting up on the roof, they get this Amnon connection with the advice, the Achitophel being Tamar's grandfather. The end is really kind of, this is clearly being connected. I would go back. I think Matt had a good point to you earlier before I got here, which was when you said it's weird that Shimi is saying all of this is happening because what you did to Saul. It's actually not what he says. If you read what he says, like specifically, he doesn't quite say that. You might think he was implying that. It's not what he says. And if you read it as a complete chapter, not as chunks, there's parallels between what he just did to the inheritance of Mephibosheth, giving it to Tziva, and like in some way, like he's re-involving himself in the Saul's story in a way that he now has to get called out, and that could have been overlooked, perhaps. Like his sins, if he was, whatever they might be, he might have been able to repent for them, atone for them, but because he is feeling guilty about other things, it is bringing up this other set of guilt he has over Saul and over Jonathan, right? And all this other stuff is coming up, and he no longer is as confident in his ability to kind of reconcile, maybe repent even, right? He doesn't feel like he has that ability, and he's on the run almost from his own past here. I mean, that's the best way to describe this chapter. Now, it's a cool chapter, right? Because like it's just like you could see this being what do you call it? There's almost something like Chaucer's like tales about this, right? Where like you just have like people meeting each other kind of as a series, but they're not disconnected, and their stories are all kind of weaving together. But it's sometimes hard to see that, especially so I've just warned not to treat it as chunks, but to see how all of these lines are coming together.
Yeah, it's one story. Just repeat, and the connection with the Benjaminites definitely within there. It's also very interesting because in a lot of stories, you the end of the hero's journey, you return home having changed, where it's like if David made this huge mistake and he's on the run, it's like we're going back to before his kingdom. And where was he before his kingdom? It's all the stuff that was there before God made him secure, like in the kingdom, when he's on the run, when he's doing things and trying to balance how he's treating the sons of Benjamin and all these other things. It's like this chapter is an undoing of everything that was done. It's like everything that established him, he's becoming disestablished, and that's to undo those things. Could be read in those terms too. Yeah,
and there is one other really important reference we need to remember from chapter 12 in the curse that Natan gave, or whatever, the punishment that Natan says is going to happen to him. He says, thus said Hashem, here I am, I will bring about before you evil from your own house, from your house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor or companion, and he will lie with your wives before before the eyes of the sun. Because you have done this in secret, I will do this before all of Israel and before the sun. Right. So like this is that very, very literal comeuppance in a sense that Achitophel might be aware of. Actually, I mean, part of his advice might be like, you should fulfill this verse. But You always get in trouble when you think that this verse is about you. I'll just say that.
You think so? Is that
Yep.
always a problem? Okay. People are asking about the stench to your father, about that turn of phrase.
I'm looking for it. What? Oh, Kini Vashta. Yeah, I mean, it means to kind of to rot, or to it's used it's used in Exodus, and I think at the end of Genesis too, when the Egyptians find the Jews kind of abhorrent, right? As this kind of
They become a stench. Get rid of them. Right. They disgust you.
Yeah. There's also there's a it's interesting because it sounds the same, but if the aleph wasn't there, which is kind of the silent letter, it could mean that you embarrassed your father, and yivashta, right? So there's kind of an interesting there as a wordplay there, probably about you've embarrassed him, and you've the stench. And there's also this interesting parallel here that just occurred to me, which is when Reuven moves the bed or the tent of his father in order to either sleep or do something with Bilhah, right, with one of his father's concubines / wives, right? And there, like, Reuven loses like the birthright over that, and there's a kind of this similar idea of like nivashta tavicha, that you've caused him this sort of abhorrent embarrassment. I don't know, yeah, something in there.
I have a wild guess, as I always do. Quoting the parable of the grape of the vineyard, ויקב לעשות ענבים ויעש באושים. What is באושים in this sentence? These are grapes that are not
sour. They're the sour grapes, right?
Sour grapes, yeah. Grapes that have not ripened. So they're not stinking, but they are unripe. It's a vine that is not fertile. That the grapes are there, but they are not fertile.
Adam is really liking the connection with Reuben losing his birthright. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, the notion of the nose is also brought in as like immediate reaction. The idea in Hebrew of God is slow to anger literally is that he's long in nose. Like, well,
that's more it's more that anger and nose are connected because of flaring nostrils. Right. So it's not that it's necessarily an immediate emotional reaction sign as much as just that anger and nose are connected. But there's a lot of things with smell. Smell is an important sense into that.
Yeah, the sweetness of an offering, right?
Yeah,
like God smells it.
When Isaac is when he blesses Jacob, thinking he's Esau, he also comments on he smells as the smell of the field. There's a whole bunch of things to unpack there, what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, it's an important sense.
Okay. Do we have time to do another chapter? This is my question for the group. Because now we have Yosef with us.
Oh, I don't know that I'm staying so long. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can get off this. You can do another chapter.
No. I honestly, Yosef, you weren't here last week, and I was like, I have questions, and where is he?
I was in the comments. I was watching Yanni's presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will hop off for now, but I am listening, and if I feel like I need to jump in again, I will.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue on. I think we got a little bit more time. Are we going to finish this whole chapter? Who knows? Maybe I'll leave everyone on a cliffhanger. We went into Matt's pocket, which was fun. that's some fun cinematography. Someone whose name can be short formed into Sandy. Would you, one version or another, would you please read for us? Cassandra went on mute, so Sandy, that's you.
Okay. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Let me choose 12,000 men, and I will rise and pursue David tonight. I will come upon him while he's weary and discouraged and throw him into a panic, and all the people who are with him will flee. I will strike down only the king, and I will bring all the people back to you as a bride comes home to her husband. You seek the life of only one man, and all the people will be at peace." And the advice seemed right in the eyes of Absalom and all the elders of Israel.
Okay, pause. What is this one? Septuagint Hebrew, back to you. Like the return of the whole is the man whom you seek. Okay. Think about who's talking. Yeah, I like what Yanni's saying. Ahithophel is a poet, confirmed. I will come back to you. I will bring all the people back to you as a bride comes home to her husband. Right? This, to me, is this connection of something has been done to a groom that is the beginning of this story. So linking it to like bringing a woman back. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Cassandra has stepped out for a second, then that's you, Sandy. Well, unless Matt, did you have anything you wanted to add in there? No. Cool. Cassandra, now that I see you, you can start reading verse 5.
Then Absalom said, "Call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he has to say." And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom said to him, "Thus has Ahithophel spoken. Shall we do as he says? If not, you speak." Then Hushai said to Absalom, "This time the counsel that Ahithophel has given is not good." Hushai said, "You know that your father and his men are mighty men, and that they are enraged like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. Besides, your father is expert in war. He will not spend the night with the people. Behold, even now he has hidden himself in one of the pits or in some other place. And as soon as some of the people fall at the first attack, whoever hears it will say, 'There has been slaughter among the people who follow Absalom.' Then even the valiant men whose heart is like the heart of a lion will utterly melt with fear. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and that those who are with him are valiant men."
Okay, pause. Let's pause there for a second. This is a point that Yoav has been, the drum Yoav has been banging on week after week, which is the idea that David has the well-trained soldiers, right, Yoav? This is your point? He has the well-trained soldiers, whereas like the young people, so they're very excited, but they don't have the experience as the people that David has on his side. But there's a secondary thing that is very important about the term mighty men, which is we have lists of the mighty men of David, who are like the people who are especially renowned as David's mighty men. And in one of those lists of David's mighty men is Uriah the Hittite. So this reference to, but he has the mighty men is again a connection to the story of Bathsheba and Uriah. Because one of his mighty men isn't there anymore, and that would be Uriah. Yoav, do you have any other anything else you want to smack onto that? Because I was referencing your ideas.
Thank you, but it's not also it's the people being cunning and being experienced. So he says, experienced people like those will surely set you a trap. They will hide in a cave or somewhere, and when you come chasing them, they will attack you by surprise.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I can add.
Yeah, and that seems connected with the language when the people are scared of the Amalekites. That's what Yosef is saying here. Right? The mighty men is also connected with that. Sometimes connected with giants, but we're not going there, even though I just made passing mention of it. I like this joke that he knows David could go into Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator mode. That's when he turns invisible. It's good. Okay. Okay. Sandy, read for us starting in verse 10.
Then even the valiant man, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will utterly melt with fear. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and that those who are with him are valiant men. But my counsel is that all Israel be gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, as the sand by the sea for multitude, and that you go to battle in person. So we shall come upon him in some place where he is to be found, and we shall light upon him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and all the men with him, not one will be left. If he withdraws into a city, then all Israel will bring ropes to that city, and we shall drag it into the valley until not even a pebble is to be found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord has ordained to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that the Lord may bring harm upon Absalom.
It's very interesting. Yeah. This is the bit of advice that we were talking about last week, especially with Michael. He was coming on and talking about this stuff. God is working into little bits of advice, who's going to follow what, because depending on what you follow, it's your downfall. Let's continue this section. Cassandra.
Then Hushai said to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, thus and so Ahithophel counseled Absalom and the elders of Israel, and all thus and so have I counseled. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, do not stay tonight at the fords of the wilderness, but by all means pass over, lest the king and all the people who are with him be swallowed up. Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz were waiting at Enrogel. A female servant was to go and tell them, and they were to go and tell King David, for they were not to be seen entering the city. But a young man saw them and told Absalom. So both of them went away quickly and came to the house of a man at Bahurim who had a well in his courtyard, and they went down into it. And
Continue.
And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth and scattered grain on it, and nothing was known of it.
Okay, what does that sound like? There's a couple of scenes that sound like this.
Well, he's in a cave again.
He's in a cave. I think you get a little bit of the Joseph narrative, the lowering into a well. But there's also a little bit of, what's it called?
The Gideon narrative?
Oh, the Gideon narrative. Yeah. Definitely a little bit of that. I was going with Rahab. She hides the men, and I believe she scatters the grain on top of it as well. It's that old thing where you put a rug over top of where the door is or whatever. They hide the lid of the well under a pile of grain, sort of a thing, so that no one even knows that it's there. Part of what I think Yanni was getting at last week, the text does seem to be, I think, having us try to sympathize with David. And this is very interesting to me because it's again when David's on the run. When he's on the run and low on power, then we have a lot more sympathy, I think, with him. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I was to say, in my footnotes, it said Bahurim was the home of Shimei, who was cursing David.
Oh. Okay.
So I don't know if it was just him that felt like that, or maybe she is an outlier and that she is helping David's men hide and escape.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's part of a turnaround. Maybe not everybody is that excited about Absalom.
Yeah, that's a good point. Man, and what do you do in a time like this when things are being flipped? You have to know who you're supposed to hitch your wagon to. It's at what point does like Mark Zuckerberg all of a sudden switch all of his opinions on Trump as an example, where it's like, I feel like the wind is changing, or like, yeah, so it's interesting to see people and what their loyalties are.
Right.
Thank you, Don. We often run into an unknown and unnamed woman who does something helpful and important. Yes, we do. Cassandra, you finish this paragraph and then I'll get Sandy to read.
When Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house, they said, Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said to them, They have gone over the brook of water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem.
Okay, sorry. In some texts, it says that this is right on the other side of the Jordan, which again might connect it with the Rahab story. The two people, the hiding, where are they? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, oh, here we are. Thank you. See, this is when I know I've made a good point, is when I didn't even see Yosef making the same point. That's how we know a point is good. Okay. Sandy, would you continue reading for us?
After they had gone, the men came up out of the well and went and told King David. They said to David, Arise and go quickly over the water, for thus and so has Ahithophel counseled against you. Then David arose and all the people who were with him, and they crossed the Jordan. By daybreak not one was left who had not crossed the Jordan. When Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his donkey and went off home to his own city. He set his house in order and hanged himself and died and was buried in the tomb of his father.
Whew. That is a great, man. Like thinking about this as episodes of a show, that's a great ending to the show. It's a great ending to an episode, right? Yeah. Yes, correct. Poets are drama queens. I support this message. Okay, does anyone have any thoughts on this little narrative that we just went through of him then hanging himself?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, I mean, I guess this would be some, what is the Japanese term for it? Like when they suicide. Yeah. Or that kind of thing. I don't know if that would be exactly the same thing, or if it's because he knew that he was on the losing side. Maybe at that point he knew that it was going to flip again.
Yeah. Oh man, Adam, this is a good comment. Some people can get humbled and even survive. Others get humbled and they cannot survive. It's his position taken.
But I mean, he went home and set his house in order. So this is something that he was thinking about. Like this, it was like a strategy, I guess, of some sorts, right?
Yeah, man. Well, it's also it's thought out. He's thought this thing out. He's organized his house first. Make sure that his will is in order, does all this stuff before anything else happens.
I'm always asking this about him. What was his game? His game should be King Solomon. And I think the plan A was that he will be the right hand of the king, and he will advise the king in time to put Solomon after him. And plan B is to play dead and keep Solomon off the issue. Have people forget about Solomon.
Well, it's an interesting image related to what you've been saying, though, too, where it's like if he's playing this much bigger game, it's not just to be the advisor to the king, but so if he just wants to be advisor to the king, who cares if this time he didn't take your advice, next time he will. But if he knows that David is escaping and everything else, and he's made himself such an enemy to David, then it seems like he knows what would be coming for him if David hasn't been found out yet.
Well, he's the wisest man in Jerusalem, by far.
Yeah.
I don't think he's afraid of David coming after him. He's thinking, what is the scenario in which after some years Solomon is getting to be king? And he doesn't know that the war is going to be so short. I think it's going to be a long period of unrest, and everybody's killing everybody, and just anarchy.
Yeah.
He wants his household to be forgotten out there in the south, where nobody, out of the center of power. People should forget about his household until there's time to return.
That's good. Anybody else?
I was just thinking about how the two kings we have so far compare. Because I remember we were talking a bit about like after a while, David has to start making decisions himself instead of just, following what God is telling him. But it's interesting because in the first for Saul, they kind of make it explicit that he is being told what to do, and then he's not fulfilling it completely. But we have like a similar thing happening with David almost too. It's just not, I guess, in the same exact way.
Yeah. This is good. This is very good.
Like,
Michael
I don't know.
Sarto. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Keep
I was going to say, I don't
going.
know if Samuel was still alive, how would he have advised him about Absalom and about Tamar and about Amnon and stuff? Because at least in the narrative that we have, that is like it's a turning point for him, for his monarchy.
Yeah. Mr. Sartori.
I was just thinking, it reminded me of the Godfather a little bit, where at the end, like Michael they're trying to figure out like who's the traitor or whatever, and you're like one of the two guys, the two capo regimes is going to come to you and say like, let's make a deal, let's patch things up, and that's the guy that's the traitor or whatever, and then it's Tessio, and Tom's like, it's like, of course it's Tessio because he's the smart one. The smart one is the one that like wants to make a deal, but then it's kind of the same thing. It's like the smart guy plays his hand, but he loses, and so he ends up dead. And then the it's not an exact parallel, but it's kind of like the thing of maybe loyalty is trumps intelligence, it trumps competence in some ways in the story,
It's interesting. Yoav, are you saying that it doesn't actually say that he's hanged? That he goes home and is strangled? Would you say that in the Hebrew text it seems clear that he has strangled himself, like that hanging is not a bad way of reading that?
I think it's kind of seppuku.
Yeah. What Cassandra was saying. Well, so this is the thing that I was wondering about the difference between strangled and hanging himself, because I have a theory which is different. Look, it's a Christian interpretation of a passage, but there's a bunch of people in this section who are cursed who end up hanging. The cursed and hanging on a tree, or this one just hanging. It's different. Like, that is a Christian reading, so it'd be difficult not to have a bit of this, because Absalom will also end up hanging when he's killed. He's hanging by his hair, and then he's killed a different way, but still. Michael, I'm going to put you on mute.
Okay.
You just wave and I'll let you talk again. Matt, do you have any thoughts? I know we just went through a bunch of material.
Sorry, I had to diffuse a situation where the eyes on a flamingo were not cute enough compared to his sister's dog, so I've been out of it. Kind of. It was real. Got real hairy here for a minute.
That's good.
I will say one thing. I think just on the comparison of kings we have now with the third claimant for rule, an interesting sort of like continuum from Saul, the one who's reluctant to rule, to David, the one who has this internal sense of the right to rule, but is waiting for the right time, the moment, waiting to receive rather than taking it. Now you have somebody on the overly aggressive, seizing power for himself. It's interesting, like, three different models for how to get power.
Yeah, that's good. It's very good. Sandy, were you trying to get something in? Okay. Okay, cool. All right, I want to finish this chapter before we go. So let's go back to the text. And Sandy, read us this little paragraph.
Then David came to Machanim, and Absalom crossed the Jordan with all the men of Israel. Now Absalom had set Amasa over the army instead of Joab. Amasa was the son of a man named Ithra, the Ishmaelite, who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. And Israel and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. When David came to Mahanaim, Shoei the son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and Machir the son of Amiel from Lodebar, and Barzillai, Gilead from Mogilim, brought beds, basins, and earthen vessels, wheat, barley, flour, parched grain, beans, and lentils, honey and curds and sheep and cheese from the herd, for David and the people with him to eat. For they said, the people are hungry, weary, and thirsty in the wilderness.
Okay. I could see that Yoav was getting excited about something. Yeah.
The snakes. It's always the snakes that.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I threw this. The first time I mentioned it, I was like, I don't know how people are going to respond to it. And I'm delighted, Yoav, that now you can't stop. Snakes in the wilderness.
It just proves that it was a very common name. Probably has to do something with prosperity, but
could, yeah, and it could just be like a smith, like someone who worked in bronze.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so many interesting names there. I just love it.
Yeah. But of the Ammonites, it's a very, man, this section, it's just, yeah. Sorry, Yosef is making sure that we know no hanging here. This is strangulation. Okay. And I accept.
Again, the English says he put his house in order. This is, there is another interpretation. He commanded his house and he was strangled.
Okay. So it's not necessarily self-inflicted.
It's indirectly self-inflicted.
Right.
Do you mean like assisted? Like an assisted self-inflicted suicide?
He ordered himself to be murdered.
Okay.
It's an order. It's not a.
Oh, wow.
Medical assistance in dying.
Oh, Michael, look. I love when Michael is ready with a joke. He has like a little smirk to
That
himself.
shouldn't be a joke, but I mean,
No.
it should, but it's just goes to show it's not a foreign concept to human culture.
Yeah. And that is also, that's very interesting too, because that's the death of Saul.
Yeah.
Right.
Saul
Yeah.
orders the man next to him to put him out of his misery. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common thing for losers. I mean, I guess, well, because some of these cultures too,
Yeah.
then you never know when not dying is going to be worse than dying. Or a fast death is better than a slow death. So
Right.
you gotta
right.
you don't want to take your chances always.
It's like a face-saving, honor-restoring measure. You've been so humiliated, there's nothing you to make up for it. There's no point in doing anything else.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and people use the language of seppuku, so that's like both Yoav and Cassandra bring that up. Yeah, does this give him honor by him being murdered?
There seems like there's a thing in some places where, like, if you live too long past when you should, it's a problem. Like in
Yeah.
some places, maybe the older generation might isolate themselves or off themselves in a way because of like there's not enough food or something like that. Like I don't know, like an old lion prides the old lions always go off by themselves because they've lived past their contribution to the group. And in some places
Yeah.
it seems like, or if you can't be the king's counselor or something better, where does he have to go now?
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Also, if he still had so much contempt for David because of Bathsheba, why would he give David the satisfaction of killing him if he knows that the tide is turning? Strangled himself. Yoav, you're saying it's an assisted strangling, so could still be by him. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Yoav. Sorry, Yoav, go ahead. Are you no?
Oh no, I need to read this again because Vayechanak. No. Why is Yechanak self-inflicted?
Yosef, you're needed to explain the Hebrew to Yoav.
Why is Yechanak self-inflicted? Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Meanwhile, there's something that when you give a boring list of names, it's never a boring list of names. Otherwise, people will not have repeated it so many times. Something is funny with this family of Tzuria. the Amasa, the son. If you can you go with the when you mentioned Tzroya, Yoav's mother? Okay.
That was all the way. Yeah.
So the son of a man named Ithra, the Ishmaelite, who married Abigail, the daughter of Nachash. No, he didn't marry her. He didn't marry her. Why Ishmaelite? Amasa Itra the Israelite. Itra the Israelite. He came to Abigail, daughter of Nachash. He didn't marry her. He came to her. I think that they were not into marriage in Yoav's family. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting. I am getting flashbacks to the previous David stories, him on the run, people helping him out. And some of these names are even names that we've heard before, right? Abigail and Nahash and all that stuff. Yeah, interesting.
So this Yoav's family was I mean, you can write a play just about his family even before David was born.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Well, and they're incredible warriors too, right? Like swift as a gazelle. They're willing to do incredible feats of bravery.
And not the kind of family to settle down.
All right. I think that's a good a good amount for us to have covered. One of the characters at Chronicles, one of the guys is actually an Ishmaelite, which is
yes, and here is Israelites. So go figure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that nobody really knows that family. I don't think anybody really knew where they were coming from.
Yeah.
I wonder, it was just, I don't know, just a thought that struck me saying that, like, if it's saying somebody's an Israelite in one account and an Ishmaelite in the other, I wonder if is the accounting's different, to when they switch from patrilineal to matrilineal descent.
It's interesting because they would have been written at different times, definitely.
Could be, but it just the point is that they were all over the place. They're not very much into formal marriage.
Yeah.
I guess this kind of like when David first gathered men when he was on the run. He was getting kind of
Yeah. And the people
Names
he
are also interesting, yeah. But I also need a map. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where did they cross the Jordan? Where is Machanaim? Where is Bachurim? It matters.
But I think there's something to what you're saying, Cassandra, where it's like we're going back to the wild days of him roaming from place to place and random people helping him.
Yeah.
And some of those
people. I mean,
who,
there seems to be parallels. Like Jonathan kind of turned against his father, and then we have the same thing with Absalom. But Jonathan wasn't doing it for himself.
but one of the guys helping David in this chapter is named Jonathan. Right? The two guys that are helping him hide, one of them's named Jonathan. So there's a connection with exactly what you were saying. Like there's these name connections to other stories that are within this same, there's threads being pulled. Yeah, Adam is saying David is doing his reunion tour back when the band made good music, right? Like we're getting these hints of former things. Yeah, and Abigail's name is being used here when Abigail's husband.
Nabal.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And even that the people that helped him were like sketchy. Right now, someone who's helping him is named Nahash. Right? We got some snake is helping him out now. A snake in the wilderness is helping him.
People of uncertain identity.
That's a great way of saying it. People of uncertain identity.
The wilderness is also where the snake belongs. So this is the snake's home.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I think this was an excellent conversation today. Thank you everyone for coming out. Does anyone have any last things? Sandy, do you have anything last that you want to say? Sandy, sometime soon you and I have to stream because you haven't been around enough, so I just want to bother you.
Can't wait to see the title on that one. Sure.
Okay. Yoav, last
Sometimes at the end of the chapter, I will go off the reservation and invent a completely alternative history. The stones that we met earlier in the chapter. I think that King Solomon, where he was building the temple, he came and collected those stones and he put them in some kind of a heritage corner in the temple. That's my alternative.
The ones that were thrown? The ones that were thrown
Yes.
at David? Okay.
Because I envision a corner in the temple where the stones were kept, and children will be taught these are the stones that were thrown at King David at the time when he was fled Jerusalem. And there is a reason why I'm inventing this.
Oh, I'm interested. Very interested.
Oh, because I have to justify the existence of stone in the temple.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I know there were stones in the temple and it has been bothering for a month. How come they had stones in the temple?
Okay, Yosef has returned to set something straight.
Oh, I was sorry. Was you done though? Because I know I got cut off in the middle.
No. That's all
Okay.
right. Go on.
And so I was looking. I just pulled out my other geography book here to check what's going on. So it keeps going back and forth between essentially areas right outside of Jerusalem. So Ein Rogel and Bachurim are right outside Jerusalem. And then the other side of the Jordan, which is where he ends the chapter, but he's been there back and forth a couple times. He seems to be kind of going down the wadi there, and then now he's actually crossing properly. Machanaim, we know, is on the other side of the Jordan, so that's where Jacob was when he saw the angels. And these are essentially three tribal chieftains that he's meeting with, this is a very kind of Yoav thing, but right, this is a military thing where he's gathering essentially his vassal, who he installed at Rabbah as the chief of Ammon under him, and two Jewish chieftains. One, Lodavar is a major city in Menashe, probably specifically like Machir, and kind of the Macharites, who, if you remember way back with Yiftach and Judges, right, a major kind of military power on the northern edge of the Jordan Valley, under the Sea of Galilee. And Roglim is also around that area too, but we don't. It's Gilad, right? So we don't know. Gilad is not Menashe. It's or is it Menashe or Gad? But it's one of the other tribes of the other side of the Jordan. So he's basically gathered his allies on the other side now, which may be right. Like before, Achitovel's advice was, "Hey, I can take 12,000 men, and we can end this here and now." When he's like still near Jerusalem, but now that he's gotten to the other side of the Jordan River and he's gathered his allies with support and troops and food, now that's not going to be the same battle anymore. Right? So this is really strategic.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, it's making it into a bigger thing. Yeah. Oh, that really gives it a sense. Thank you for that. Gives a sense of the importance of the two counselors, because it's so close right now as to like how quickly David could be dispatched versus like how easy or how hard this is. That's interesting.
And which also makes it interesting that Achitophel gives up when he does, right? Like he somehow sees that once his advice isn't taken, that his side is going to lose and he's going to die, and he might as well commit suicide. But like everyone else, I think, doesn't have that foresight. Like in some ways, and his death, as I mentioned, like is taking language from the Book of Judges about death and burial, especially Gidon. It's almost the same description as Gidon's death. I think that's important because I think Achitophel is seen, and I mentioned this before, like he is understood to be the head of the Council of Elders / Proto-Sanhedrin, and he has this advice. He does advise the kings. He is seen to have some sort of godly, divine insight and wisdom, and obviously he sides on the wrong side, but he still is like smart enough to see what's going to happen, and no one else can see that yet. Everyone else, it's fluid still. That's one way to read it. The other way to read it is that he's just a man prone to extreme measures that are irreversible, because like crazy.
I've made a couple of irreversible decisions already. Yeah, but okay, let's just say I'm writing the episode for the TV series. Right before I'd have him kill himself, I'd have like someone trying to reassure him, and he says, no, it's already over. So like he already knows where this thing is going, or he's just a bipolar and he makes a decision which is he can't take back. No take backs.
I mean, to be fair, he is correct that Hushai's advice was bad, and he's also correct that now he's going to lose.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it, but he is correct. The only thing he doesn't know is how David's going to treat him.
There's also this real ambiguity with Hushai. Like, is he giving bad advice on purpose or not? The Hebrew is rather interesting because, especially when in the previous chapter, when it says, when he's like pledging allegiance to Absalom, the text is written like low, low ish, I will not, Lamed Aleph, but in the way we pronounce it and the way it's understood to, like, the word is supposed to be written is Lamed Vav, like low, as in, like, so he's saying, like, I will support you, but then it also says I won't support you, like, depending on which, right? Like, both traditions are there. And that was like preserved as an ambiguity, like in the scribal tradition too.
Right.
So, like, to point out, like, you don't know what side Hushai is on, and I don't know if, like, we just can't. The other last comment I would say is really interesting, right? Is Shimi? I don't know if this came up. I missed a couple little windows here and there, but Shimi is one of the, like, spiritual ancestors of Mordecai when we get his lineage, and that's not accidental, right? So Mordecai is the son of Kish, who is Saul's father. He's the son of Shimi, who is in this story, and he's of course a Benjaminite, right? So, like, in some ways, there's other things happening here that will be pulled together much later in that story that, like, we're getting hints to already.
Right, that's great. Okay, Cassandra, any other observations from you? The last person I asked, I think, was Yoav, who had some very good last-minute observations. And when we get to Solomon and the temple, you'll tell me where you think those stones are. But that's going to be in about 6 months, I think. I think that's when we'll get to that.
That will be already in the New Testament when the stones reappear.
Okay, and then they picked up stones. That part, fun. Cassandra, last observations for you.
Okay, yeah, I don't have much, I don't think, to say on this part. Too much. I forgot that we weren't at the chapter 18 yet.
No.
Absalom's final moment. I was waiting for that one. I was excited for that one.
We will get to death by hair next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Mr. Sartori, man of 1,000 words.
I thought the only other thought I had, just kind of in the general sense with, like, David kind of running away and being cowardly and all this stuff is, there's this element where like God works through our weakness, and like, if you think about Samson, like he was really strong, but his greatest power didn't come until he got to the end of his strength, and then he had to like put his life in God's hands. And I think that's kind of a little bit of just like the overall theme of the thing. Like
Mhm.
God, God makes winners out of losers a lot of times. So
I really like what Yanni is actually saying here. Sometimes number 3 wants to be number 1, so he has to get rid of number 2 in a clever way. Matt, give us your last reflections.
My last reflections was just looking at the last couple verses of the chapter is really kind of resonant for me of Psalm 23, but reading Psalm 23 in this context is a bit more, I don't know, melancholy. Like particularly like phrases like he prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and bringing the beds, the food, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less calendar fodder when you remember when you put it in this context. I don't know, just interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah. That's good. That's real good, Matt. Thank you. Okay, I think I'm going to call it there. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. We'll be back next week. It was a fun time. Sandy won't be there, but she'll be there the week after. Maybe everyone else will be. Yeah. Oh, Yosef is praising you. That's very good. That's definitely a good sign. Okay. See everyone later. Talk to you next week. Okay. Bye.